You're in, or you're out. You're in, or you're out.
How can I tell you if I'm in or I'm out without you telling me the first thing about what I might be in or out of?
This would be something dangerous and very exciting.
This library is home to the most valuable book in the United States.
$12 million. You really need to see how easy this is gonna be.
Oh, you know this from all your previous heists?
Come on!
Oh, shit! This is my life! This isn't some game!
Let's do this.
Hello everyone, my name is Don the Movie Reviewer, and today we are going to be talking about American Animals. American Animals is not based on a true story, is based on a true story about 4 American teens who attended Transylvania University in Lexington, Kentucky. These 4 American teens planned an elaborate heist to steal the rare book of John James Audubon's Birds of America. Warren Lipkin, Charles Allen, Spencer Reinhardt, and Eric Borzek all came together to plan this elaborate heist at Transylvania University's library to steal the James Audubon book Birds of America, which is apparently worth $5 million. Now, the story of this movie is fairly simple. You have 4 American teens who are privileged. They go to a good school. I would say that from what I remember, a few of them, or at least all of them, have both their parents at home and are pretty well off in life. Maybe not wealthy, but they're well off. And their lives seem perfectly normal. But yet, they feel that they don't really have a purpose in life. Warren Lipkin, played by Evan Peters, is a guy who is, as the movie describes, I'm not really paraphrasing here, but the movie describes him as a guy who's like, yeah, if you have a pot of some soup or something and you need to put a little spice in it, that's what Warren Lipkin is. Then we have Charles Allen, who is played by Blake Jenner. And Charles Allen, which in the movie they nickname him Chaz, is a guy who's well off and he really doesn't need to be involved in the heist, but yet for some reason he gets involved in the heist. And as a character in the movie, not really basing this on the real person, just me watching the movie and looking at his character, it seemed to me that he didn't really need to be here. They didn't explain much about him except the basics, scratching the surface of who he was, and his point in being involved in the heist didn't make any sense. And when you do the typical heist thing, when they commit the crime and then you got the bickering amongst the criminals about, oh, we're gonna get caught and all this, and he's the first to complain about getting caught, and I'm saying to myself, dude, you put yourself in this position, you make your bed and you lie in there and you're worried about getting caught, and really you're the one who's most likely, from what I understand, what the movie's telling me is that this character is the most well off out of all of these characters, and so there's no reason that he should be involved in this heist whatsoever. But I guess, as teens and kids who are bored and kids just looking for thrills, he just felt like doing it. You also have the character in here, Spencer Reinhardt, played by Barry Keoghan. And Barry Keoghan is a fantastic actor. I've seen a lot of this guy lately in a lot of movies. And he always knocks it out of the park, but he always plays these kind of socially awkward characters who have these particular mannerisms. And, you know, he does that here again. He plays the same thing that I've seen him play in previous movies, where he's kind of quiet and reserved and a little bit socially awkward. I don't know if the guy, the Spencer Reinhardt guy, is actually like that in real life, but as far as the actor in the movie playing this character is concerned, I felt that, you know, he played the typical standard characters that he always play in all of his movies. But he did a good job with his performance. And as far as the character goes, we get more backstory with him. He's kind of the main focal point next to the Warren Lipkin character. And, you know, these two characters together, you know, they seem like they're friends. They do a lot of things together. They're the two originators who came up with the heist to begin with. And, you know, the movie, I don't think, really builds on their relationship. I mean, we understand them and what they're all about, what they're doing, but it just, there wasn't any real emotional layers to these characters that I gravitated towards. Eric Borzik, who was played by Jared Abramson, I think is the weakest link here, next to the Charles Chaz Allen character. I mean, the Charles Chaz Allen character, I understood him. You know, he's just like some rich kid who's looking for thrills, I guess. You know, I thought he was pretty cool. I mean, the guy in the movie who plays the character is a handsome man. But the Eric Borzik character, played by Jared Abramson, he was the weakest link here, and I will admit, towards the middle portion when they showed this character when he first popped in, I was asleep, because the movie, it just, you know, like at the beginning it set everything up and it just felt like just random stuff. This didn't really need to be a full-length movie. This could have easily been a documentary, which the movie tries to play out like that, which is kind of weird. This movie is suffering from a balancing act. You know, there are some weird moments during the beginning of the movie where it plays it straightforward and serious. There's even one shot at the very beginning and towards the end where they show that Heath Ledger Joker shot, and it's like, okay, you know. Yeah, I keep hearing things about, these guys wanted to pretend that they were actually living out their fantasies from movies. There's even one moment in the movie where they cite Quentin Tarantino's Reservoir Dogs and give each other code names like Mr. Pink and whatnot. And that's cool and all, like moments like that when they were like, you're Mr. Pink, all that was cool. But then during moments when they're showing Dark Knight Joker shots, it's like, okay, I understand the perspective of the characters living out that fantasy, but the movie just doing something visually with that doesn't make any sense. It's like, and then there's another scene in here where the characters are smoking dope and they're sitting in the car, and then one of the characters goes into the grocery store, and then the character sitting in the driver's seat of the car turns to the passenger side and then sees the actual, what's that character's name? I'm looking at my laptop, I'm sorry. That character, he sees the actual, hold on. He looks to his left and he sees the actual Spencer sitting next to him. Like, that's another thing in the movie. There are moments where it feels like a documentary on top of it being an actual movie. And those parts kind of took me out of the fantasy of the movie. It's like when I watch a movie that's just a movie, you're put into this fantasy world of these characters going through their, you know, explorations of life and figuring out who they are and going through their trials and tribulations and circumstances. And I would say that with this movie, there's so many balancing acts. There's so many balancing acts in here to me that just don't really make any sense. Like, there are directing choices in here that I think are just for style purposes, and there's there's substance within that style, but it's just more flashy than anything else, and I don't really get a whole lot of information in depth with the characters as much as I wanted to, and I feel like the movie suffered for that. There's lots of beautiful shots in here of paintings, especially at the beginning when you see the opening credits, and there's a shot of a burning shopping cart, which I don't get. There's lots of creative choices in here that just really baffled me, and I felt like, the comedic tone didn't mesh well with the seriousness of the movie, because I felt like the beginning setting up everything was really interesting. Then the middle portion of it, which is the whole chunk setting up the heist, how they're planning it, really didn't excite me all that much. Then bringing new characters in just really confused me, and the overall purpose of them doing what they were doing didn't make sense to me. And then I would say the third act of the movie, when something happens and they do the heist, I thought that was the most exciting part of the movie, because it gives you that emotional depth that I've been waiting for. So it gives me the emotional depth I've been waiting for. But then I just felt like it was too little too late. We invested all this time, wasting time, not really showcasing these characters' emotions. I mean, the more memorable moments for me in the movie were the moments when the characters were arguing about getting caught, and they were worried about their own personal lives, and stuff like that. Those are the most intense moments to me. The stuff when they're planning out the heist, I didn't care for that stuff. So to me, I wasn't really emotionally invested in this movie as much as I wanted to be. I will give American Animals a C+. I give it a C+ because there were some exciting moments in here. Like, I like the acting in here. I think the acting is strong all across the board from everybody. Everybody in here gives a powerful, emotional performance. But as far as the emotional depth and weight of the characters, I don't get anything out of them or feel anything for them until the very end of the movie, once they commit the crime, and then they're all emotional about getting caught and all of that stuff. I thought that was really good. The directing choices in here, showing like the actual people involved, then splicing between like showing the actual people in the film and kind of interacting with the actors was a bit jarring. There were times where it felt like a documentary, which this really would have worked as a documentary. I really would have preferred the documentary above everything else. Making this an actual movie is way too long. The middle portion to me was a bit lengthy. They could have trimmed at least 30 minutes off this movie. Because I really didn't care. I didn't care about the characters. I only cared about the heist and them getting to the point. And when they got to the point, my heart was pounding. I was excited. I felt sympathy for the characters towards the end of the movie. But everything before that, I didn't understand why they were doing this. I was confused. I didn't really get any emotional layers from these characters in the movie. So I was just left kind of cold. But, there were some exciting moments, like I said, towards the end. And, that's pretty much it. I really was disappointed watching this movie because I was heavily anticipating this after seeing that first trailer. And I just really wanted more. They should have just made this a documentary. If there is a documentary out there, I'll watch that. But watching this as a feature-length film, I don't think it really delivers anything. It's just like, okay, here are these characters who did this crime and committed it, and then here they are now, and that's it. And with the movie, that's all it gives me. It doesn't give me anything to take from these characters at all. I don't get anything out of this from any of these characters in the movie. As far as real life is concerned, it's a horrible thing, and hopefully, they have moved on from that and reflected on what they've done and just kind of said, okay, I'm sorry, and move on from it. But as far as the movie goes, I don't care. Could have been way better. So that's all I have to say. So as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.